bit of a coin. The flag that's the deity is, and the sea there's some there's the place and the history of all the but there's a certain number 50 describing to Parvati how longer in this place for some similarly time activity you will be unmatched. This Ivan and after his life deity. I find it particularly interesting about Daksha. Daksha's kind of impossible, irascible personality, incorrigible. He can't be corrected. He's got deep, deep anarthas. He's got a problem. Counter cursing and Virabhadra chopping off his head because he insulted Daksha insulted Lord Shiva. He was given a goat. And imagine someone that's used to beautiful features gets a goat's head. Bhagavatam says he died of embarrassment and pride, arrogance, willing to insult any great personality, no problem. He was relieved of the reaction, but wasn't relieved of the tendency. So, Daksha part 2. We'll go back. Starting in the 3rd canto, Swayambhuva Manu, the first of the, we'll go back. Each day of Brahma, last day of Brahma, they are lawgivers of mankind. They help to oversee the proper conduct of human beings. They give the standard for human conduct. Manu Smriti, Manu Samhita. Manu has a very important role. One of the first entities generated by Lord Brahma goes on, not all of them, but prominent ones and so forth. Lineage following Swayambhuva Manu. Towards the end of the 4th canto, that lineage speaks of King Prachinibhari. We'll hear some more this morning about King Prachinibhari. But King Prachinibhari, he had 10 sons. He requested his sons to assist him in populating the planet with good offspring. They knew they had to purify their consciousness first, because they went to purify their consciousness by performing austerities for, this is Satya Yuga, so 1/10 of their lifetime is dedicated for that, 10,000 years. As they were prayers, which we're going to hear about later. They entered the sea, Lord Vishnu came, they came out of the sea. When they came out of the sea, 10,000 years had passed, that human society needs agricultural land, so they knew a really quick method to clear the land, like a human torch. And they just started burning up all the forests so that there'd be agricultural land. So the presiding deity of vegetation is the moon god, Chandra. So the moon god came to where the Brachetas were. Some forests were burned. It's now accomplished. There's land for agriculture. You don't need to kill all vegetation, and gave reasons why. Those trees and the vegetation supplies life for animals and so many other living entities. Besides, wouldn't it be nice if somebody's in this like rage of anger, he just said, "Hey, Prabhu." You know what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita? Matra sparshasta kaunteya, so just be Vedas. From Locha, and Locha, Apsara was their wife. And number one, some time passed, and Daksha, long narration, produced many sons, and those many sons became parts of Narada Muni. Then, after 2 batches of sons, and they were given to different sages for the purpose of populating the planet with good offspring. 27 of those 6 given daughters of Daksha as his wives. 20 to one of the 27, Rohini. I noticed the room. The 26 went to their father, Daddy! Chandra's paying so much attention to Rohini, he's neglecting us. A Brahmana is cursing a demigod that he should contract an illness that would diminish his luster and eventually he would die. Ooh, Daksha didn't lose the same problem. Chandra, the demigod of the moon, consulted Lord Shiva and asked what to do. And essentially Lord Shiva said, well, I can restore your luster, Brahmana. So it's inevitable that for a fortnight this way, go to Prabhas. There's a linga, like the size of a fist, but you find that it's in the sea by some circumstance, and you worship very nicely and things will come out okay. Mentions this very same thing in Canto 6, chapter 6 months. A little difference between thousands of years and 6 months, but okay, you pleased me very much. I'll name this Shivalinga after you, Somnath, the Lord of restored, and therefore Lord Shiva also gave the name Prabhas because of the light of the moon would be restored from the... Like in Tirupati, here also in Somnath, it's a Revati Raman for wigs or whatever else they sell it for, and it's a huge income. But the austerity, the shame to do now a third time, versus worship of Lord Vishnu. Shukadeva. And yet it's seen that those keeps ashes from the cremation. Krishna or Vishnu, could you explain why it is like that? People born in India, my one reservation about becoming a Krishna Bhakta is an unending struggle. Shukadeva Goswami describes slightly, it's described to the point of creation, according to Srimad Bhagavatam and other literatures. The glance of Mahavishnu is entrusted with the living entities and the time energy by the Lord's Yoga Nidra potency or his spiritual potency, and impregnation takes place. So the agitation of Pradhan starts with the modes of nature, which were dormant because time wasn't there, living entities weren't there. The modes of nature become activated, false ego. And then false ego mixes with the modes of nature. And depending upon the mixture of the modes of nature, different things are produced. So Lord Shiva, being the 5 material elements, 5 knowledge-acquiring senses, 5 working senses, and false ego mixing with the mode of goodness produces the mind, and depending upon whether your mind, Aniruddha is the source of the mind, or the Lord of the mind. We'll hear that in Lord Shiva's prayers. But if one's knowledge of reality, one cannot see reality as it is. Lord Shiva may be worshipped in the form of any one of these 16, including powers corresponding to that element. So if you're a really sophisticated, subtle, super advanced Lord Shiva worshipper, you can, because he's the Lord of false ego that mixes with the modes of nature. When Daksha, part 1, starts insulting Lord Shiva, Sati defeats him, saying, persons worship him. He bestows, so he hides his own opulences, but he has all those opulences, which he can then bestow. He's very kind. Maybe not so discriminating, but very kind. So, nor in touch with the material elements, nature, karma, false ego, and the whole material existence. That's his benediction. And to assist that, he gets a little bit more subtle. But even, Shukadeva goes on to say, even understanding properly, therefore, worshippers of Lord Shiva, who don't properly understand who, and they worship him this way, that way, the other way, for material benedictions, which simply serve to bind the death of Brahma Bhuvana Loka Purnar Arvartanor. And why we don't do what we don't. Don't disrespect, that's an offense. But it's also an offense to consider him to be equal to. But people are in the modes of nature, and they food. According to the modes of nature, there's different faith. The soul. People don't have, it's a philosophy of life and everything else. There's no modes of nature. And how do you get beyond the modes of nature? Worship of Lord Vishnu, who's condescending, not condescension. He proposed a kind of loving devotion to the Supreme. So the medium is loving devotion to the Supreme, and the whole thing. Shelter, benediction by Lord Shiva that he could become very powerful and this and that. He became very proud and even used that power. Vrikasura and Lord Vishnu. Happiness himself, formed chapter, Krishna showed the Kauravas are already destroyed. It's already done. It's a done deal. Someone else will do it. But I want you to be an instrument. Krishna, Parashuram, he's an incarnation of the Supreme Lord, but it's in Ram is the worshipper of the there to honor his. There's camps or groups or understanding of Siddhanta, but for Vaishnavas he is appreciation of everything as it is. Personality, Vrikasura, addictions. As it says in Bhagavad Gita, approached Narada and said, who will give me results fast? Necessary. So he became very enthused, went to Kedarnath, fire sacrifice, so he established a fire sacrifice, and when it came, cut off his body with a knife. 6 days. But Shiva was of Vrikasura from cutting off his head. Lord Shiva said, don't you know I want the benediction that benediction touched the head of Lord Shiva, outstretched. Worries. So, Brahmin boy, for a while, everyone, as he did some name, understands me. And he explained the whole cursed Lord Shiva, all convinced that the benediction he forgot. So though then Lord Shiva, excuse me, comes for you and for others. So Lord Vishnu has, Lord, their interest in his Father's kingdom. This morning, we're going to discuss so kind. And the circumstance, they're going in Satyayug by the process of meditation underwater. And so the meditation was not just practicing pranayama. So Prithu was trying to, when it came to spiritual perfection, he went, was Arishat, beautifully attractive person. When the marriage took place, very qualified sons that portrayed good citizens, just an obedience to their father. Very important. And so we heard this now for the third time. Place and the so Vasudeva. So it comes especially dear to Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva says that Vasudeva, Sankarshan, who assists in the deity of. Now, for those that have the mind and resources that you need for your devotion, or the person, Lord Shiva, or whom Lord Shiva is. Lord devote Bhava stage, and the Lord Shiva is in this way. And Lavamatra Sadhu, who his prayers and prachetas, lifting the newest